let's talk to Tim in Florida, who has a question for you, Christy. Tim, can you hear us?
Yes, I hear you fine.
Hey,
Eric,
you're talking to Eric and Christy. What would you like to talk about today?
Well, my question is to Christy, and it's a professional question. It involves what is the standard non-believer who's also a non-professional consumer of therapy, which I was in at one point, and I'm not the only person that this professional treated, but I was misdiagnosed by every which way you can conceive the DSM, anything, even the psychiatrist that's prescribing medications specifics. This fell through the cracks, and it turns out it was. I think it was intentional bias from a religious culture. Now, I turn over a lot of my life to professionals that have licenses in medicine, et cetera, that have religions, and I have no problem with that. One of my physicians kisses a rug 5 times a day, and he is a wonderful physician, and I trust my life with him. I have no problem with his personal religion, but I wouldn't know. I have a general clue when he would cross the line of intentional cultural bias that would result in a misdiagnosis. What should a general non-professional like myself? I'm just a dumb engineer. I make things out of stuff that smart people tell me is possible to do, and then I try to do it cheaper than other people, and that's why I'm good at it. But what should a non-professional be looking for when you can actually, what kind of telltale signs could a biased cultural, even religion, and I'm specifically talking about the religion. And my specific case was, you're gay, you're sick.
Yeah.
Seriously, it's that simple. It goes back many, many years. It goes back to the pre-1970s escape from...
Right. To clarify just a little bit, you're talking about the experience of being in therapy, effectively working with a bad therapist and wanting to maybe avoid that by looking for like red flags before you step on the actual landmine. Do I have your question right there?
Right, but the resources that you gentlemen and your organizations are presenting us today were not available to me back then. You need to understand that. And so I went down the rabbit hole with this therapist, and it was a total, it led to many years of wasted time and money. And
we're sorry to hear that.
They were flat out wrong.
We're sorry to hear that. Christy, do you know
I'm old. Your problems, but there still has to be this contamination.
Well, let's ask
because
Christy.
I have it. I mean, I see it in myself.
Gotcha.
So what should the average person be looking for?
Okay.
Yeah, see that's a good question that I may be able to answer. What the average person should be looking for, and that's going to depend on you. What research shows us over and over and over again is that more important than the type of therapist that you're working with, the nature of their licensure or the type of degree they have, more important than the particular theoretical orientation, their style of therapy, what they're focusing on, more important than where they went to school or their education or their certifications. All of that pales in comparison in terms of its impact and their ability to work well with you compared to that relationship, compared to how comfortable you feel when you're talking to them. The most important part of any therapy process is just going to be whether or not this feels like somebody that you can trust. And, that doesn't mean necessarily that you walk in on the first day and you decide whether or not you like them, but beyond liking them, if you don't feel comfortable around them, then they're not going to be a good therapist for you. I don't care how talented they are. I don't care how brilliant they are. They're not going to be able to do good work with you if you don't feel like you can trust them. And trust is earned. It takes a little bit of time to work up to it. And so I don't want you to feel like that consultation is everything, but that initial conversation is important. And I want to encourage you to lean into your instincts as to whether or not you feel comfortable. Beyond that, I don't know that you need to be overly stressed about some of these things. Trust but verify. If they say something that doesn't pass the smell test, maybe investigate it, bring it back to them, and try to talk to them about it. But I don't know that there is a particular strategy here for how to avoid dumbass therapists. And yeah, we could certainly get into more of that and go on and on all day. But I think that's the takeaway I'd like to leave you with.
Okay. Tim, hope that helps.
Well, it helps. I wish, I want to stress to the average people listening, average Joe like me, the value of the resources that you're providing, because there's not an official medical list of people that's not going to, that have degrees, but yet they dose out batshit. I mean, there's still going to be that on the periphery. You know what I mean?
Often you find that in churches, a lot of people will turn to their church leaders and treat them as if they are trained counselors. So you're absolutely right. Tim, thank you for calling in, man.
All right. Thanks for taking my call. And, hey, keep up the good work. And, hey, work on getting legal accreditation for batshittery. Let's work on that.
Take care, my man. I wanted you to have that kind of the words to kind of leave them with, but just a few keywords that kind of pop up into my head. Mm-hmm. If one of the first questions your therapist asks you is, how's your walk? How's your walk with Christ?
Yeah, that's a good sign you're in the wrong place. But it again, without wanting to get into all of this talk about vibes and woo or anything like that, if you, Eric Murphy, sat down in a therapist's office and were asked, how's your walk? You would immediately think to yourself, I do not feel safe with this person. I do not trust this person. I do not want to share my secrets with them. And that right there is a pretty good indication you're in the wrong chair.
Agreed. And if the goal is to restore you to the flock, then the goal is not necessarily you and restoring you and making sure you're okay. So making sure that you've got those things lined up are helpful. Also, looking for therapists who utilize methods that have been shown to work. If they say, hey, we really want to stick candles in your ears and pinpricks on your back, or we want to do cupping or some, Reiki or crystal healing, run very fast, run very far away, and make sure that they didn't take your wallet. Because there are a lot of really, really seedy people who will act like they can solve those problems, but aren't using evidence-based techniques. And so it's definitely worth looking into for that. All right. And I don't know. I don't think I'm on track well today, but I want to make sure that I'm being held accountable. Earlier on, when we were talking to our first caller about dealing with grief, I do not want to minimize the pain and suffering that a non-believer goes through in having to deal with that. Whether that person means to be hurtful or not, that doesn't change the fact that it hurts. And I definitely want to recognize that.